Your fever is high, and the pressure to log in at work is too. But when you finally decide to take care of you, there's Instacart. Just because that one perfect coworker of yours is attending all meetings, camera on while she's sneezing, coughing, and aching, doesn't mean you have to do the same. Take it from us. Trying to stay on top of things will only get you further behind. Instead, get everything from tissues and teas to cough suppressants and comforting soups delivered through Instacart in as fast as 30 minutes. If anyone needs anything, they can just redirect their questions to that one perfect coworker of yours.
The following is a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowercat.com's Powercat Insiders podcast, presented by Commerce Bank, and it starts right now. Now, let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here's your host, GoPowercat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to another edition of the Powercat Insiders podcast, brought to you by Commerce Bank, here from the WTC Gig-Powered Studios in downtown Manhattan, right down the street from Commerce Bank. Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowercat.com. Matt Walters of K-State Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Bravo.
2 straight weeks.
Right there. Just send the sheet on over for the read. Kellis Robinette of the Wichita Eagle, Kansas City Star, and Kansas State Road Games.
Every Saturday.
The lone soldier now.
Saturday.
Well, how many has that in a row now been? Is that like Alabama, West Virginia this week? Was there one before that too?
Man.
There might have
Well,
been one
Oklahoma,
before that.
the first
yeah,
one was-
Oklahoma was before that, and then it's TCU this Saturday.
Yeah, TCU.
Such a lonely
Give
beat.
us a. I'm looking forward to. I think it's Texas Tech on the road, like next Tuesday or Wednesday. I get to spend Saturday at home.
It's crazy.
The other voice you heard was Ryan Black.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just jumped
Manhattan
right
Mercury,
in.
we
Man,
call him Catfish.
because
We're
Ryan
not
Black,
supposed to be talking.
Hey, I'm just so amped to have a rider. I'm just jumping in, cutting you off, cutting Fitz off, cutting
right.
Kellis off. I'll get outside and cut people off when I'm driving. I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good, happy mood.
It
Man,
is kind of funny though. He's Catfish, but he's the only one in here without any facial hair today.
Just please don't bring that up to Matt. Every time he sees me anywhere, the games, Walmart,
Keeps him
other
whiskers or
places,
something.
he just hates it. He's like, don't cut the facial hair.
No, don't.
There you go. So.
Well, I feel like this podcast just started and I'm down 21 points. That's what that feels like.
Relevant reference.
It is very relevant.
Oh, boy. Kansas State loses at Iowa State 73-63. The score isn't the problem. The problem was they fell behind 21 in the first half, and we're down almost 20 in the first 6 or 7 minutes of this game. There are bad starts, and then there are what Kansas State did in Ames. Tried to claw back, got within 4, and still lost by 10. Both teams entered the game at 2-7 in the Big 12. That was a very winnable game. We are sponsored by Commerce Bank.
Life is full of moments, big and small. Commerce Bank has the technology and the people to help with whatever financial challenges come your way. Commerce Bank, challenge accepted.
It's hot in the studio today.
When you get back within 4 after you've trailed by as many as 21, your efficiency has to even be that much better at that point.
Yeah, and
It's one thing to get back to within 4. It's another thing to tie it or take the lead.
I know, and that's the ongoing problem. They can play well enough to dig out of the hole most of the way, but they're not efficient enough to finish that off. They're not efficient enough to finish off games they're leading sometimes, and they're rarely efficient enough to win down the stretch. Most of their wins have been of the comfortable nature, or the team has come back and made it look closer. Mm-hmm. This team, I really thought this would be a game, Kellis. You were there. Were you there, Ryan?
I
Catfish?
watched it on the computer.
That's right. I'm not faulting anyone for not traveling right now. Budgets are tight.
About 2 minutes into the game, I turned to Riley and said, I drove all the way here for this. So
I know.
2 minutes in the game.
Yeah. Oh, it was obvious early, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was dreadful. Most teams aren't good enough to come back from 20 in the first half. Certainly this team. Guys, I find myself in this situation where I'm clinging to reasons to be optimistic, and I thought it was pretty impressive they got it within 4. Moral victory, if you want to call it that, but right now you have to kind of take it. I continue to think there's signs of hope for the future. Not this season, but the future. Kellis, what were your thoughts about the game?
I think even that they came back to within 4 has to come with a pretty big asterisk, and that Tyrese Halliburton went down because had he played the second half, I don't think it really would have been even as close as it was. But yeah, it's the same old story. If you knock off the first 7 minutes and the last 7 minutes of the game, they're probably right there. But that's been the case way too much this season. I don't know what it is with these at the beginning of these games, but it was happening against Texas Tech. It happened against Baylor. It happened here now. Like
Texas.
Were they way behind? Yeah, they were.
I mean, I know you maybe want to say that was a weird travel deal, of course, but that was another game
that one was behind. A little different because they hit some pretty lucky shots to take that lead. But, I mean, Iowa State just mauled them.
It just seems not just this team, but this has often been a symptom of Bruce Weber teams. They do kind of come out sluggish and then kind of gather steam, and I don't know if that's settling into their defense or not. But, for me, guys, the problem here wasn't their offense, which was dreadful to start the game. They couldn't score. They couldn't put ball in basket.
They couldn't stop Solomon Young.
They couldn't defend. That was the problem. Mm-hmm. This team is built on defense, and when you fall behind by 21 that quickly, you're giving up too many points. And they just were out of sync on defense, and that's probably why Bruce Weber was at his wit's end during this game. This team has to defend 40 minutes, not 37, not 33, and certainly not, basically 25 minutes is what they did in this game. And I find it amazing that with someone of the stature of Halliburton, Iowa State was 2-7 coming into this game. And that shows how down Iowa State is, that they have a potential first-round NBA pick, and they still suck.
Who was it they lost to at home? Wasn't it Arkansas Pine Bluff?
Florida A&M.
Florida A&M, yeah.
They didn't have Halliburton for the game.
Well,
Still.
Yeah.
But they're the opposite. They're the opposite of K-State. They don't play defense. They have to play offense for 40 minutes if they're going to win games. They basically have to have a run like they did against K-State to beat people. K-State's the opposite. They got to keep you off the board.
I just wanted to point out, Fitz, when you kind of introduced that game, you noted they were both 2-7 entering the game, but I think they were both also 9-13. Just because I wanted to mention that Kellis called it the Spider-Man point meme game or something.
Spider-Man meme college basketball classic.
There you go.
Where each team recognizes the other and says, "You look familiar."
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was what was so disappointing about that game. I mean, if you're going to... I got what they were saying all last week. Second half, this Big 12 season is coming up. We can turn things around. And we got Iowa State, who isn't very good. Oklahoma State, who isn't very good. TCU isn't very good. We'll beat those teams. And then they come out and lose double digits the first one. It's not very promising for the rest
exactly, Matt, what jumped out at me. Here was their opportunity. They were coming off... kind of a tough stretch. They had some winnable games in there. They did beat Oklahoma. I know they were on the road, but this was a very comparable team. They have Oklahoma State on Tuesday night. They go to TCU on Saturday. This was the opening of a stretch where they could kind of get themselves back on track. And they just come out flat. Like they're just not inspired at all. I find that baffling.
Well, you look at it glass half full, which is what we discussed last week. 2 with Iowa State, 2 with Oklahoma State. You still got TCU again. You could win 4 or 5 of those games. You could get to, the 7-win mark, the 8-win mark possibly. And you scratch your head to understand, to swallow why you're down 21-2, just like that. And I'm going to go back to. What the coaches have to do is, again, show that they are coaching for now and trying to win now. But personally, I think you're looking forward to the next year or two. You're coaching for down the road right now, especially with the Gordons, Dejuan and Antonio, Montavious Murphy, among others. But the fact that you sit at 2-8, K-State's a team that can beat practically anybody in the Big 12, but they can also get beat by anybody in the Big 12. And that's where it sits right now.
I'll note that, I like the lineup they went with. I don't know what you guys think of Carty going back in it, but to me, and this is just my opinion, I just think it's time at this point to take Mack out of the lineup. Put Antonio in, like I said, and just go with him and Xavier, Monte, Dejuan. and David Sloan, although I guess it's just kind of a toss-up game to game whether I guess it's going to be him or Carty. I don't know what you guys think of that. I just think that, okay, Mac, he's occasionally showing more energy, but just, like I said, build for the future, bring him off the bench, let Antonio get in there and get more experience.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Because I just feel like they've given him every opportunity to turn this around. And then you look, 16 minutes, 4 fouls. I mean, he at least goes 3 or 4 from the field. But, I mean, the fouls. I mean, he's just at this point, it's just.
1 rebound.
Well, I didn't even bring that. Yeah, 1 rebound.
That's almost impossible.
Yeah.
This was actually one of his best games in Ames. Sadly. I mean, that building is like, I mean, every building can seem like kryptonite to him, but that one is rough. That's the one, I think the last 2 times he's been there, he hasn't even made double-digit minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable.
The problem with taking him out of the lineup altogether is he's still their best post defender.
Right.
Yeah, I guess.
Right, and that's probably exactly why Bruce refuses.
Problems make you cringe, but I mean, like Bruce was all over Montavious in this game because he wouldn't switch when he was supposed to, and that's a big reason Solomon Young scored so many points because he doesn't know where he was supposed to be.
Yeah, but again, I think it's like Matt and Fitz have said multiple times. At this point, let him get in there and learn and make mistakes and build for the future. Because I mean, this season's done. You know, I mean, I was not here for that season, but you guys know how much Bruce has talked about how, you know, Barry Brown and Dean Wade and Kamal Stokes going through the pains they did as freshmen is what made them so good as juniors and seniors. Was they just went through those growing pains of losing a lot of close games, a lot of games on the road, games that they ended up winning as juniors and seniors because they went through it as freshmen.
These pains are much worse.
Well, it's a tough spot because, I mean, I definitely see merit. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could bench Xavier, too.
No, they shouldn't bench Xavier.
I mean, well, if you're only playing for the future,
but
then why
who do you
play
put
a
in
senior?
then? But who do you put in then if you take him out?
You're a worse team if you take Mac out of the lineup. So if you're only building for the future, why not just play the guys who are going to be around next
I
year?
do find this intriguing. Mac played 16 minutes, 50 seconds. Levi Stockard, 18:33, and Antonio Gordon, 19:43. So Antonio actually did get the most minutes of the 3 guys that have been seeing time in the post. I think probably that rotation is their best way to go. Just try to stay at least fresh in the post and rotate guys through. Kellis, you were the one of us who was there in post game. Was the demeanor of Bruce Weber business as usual, or was it different?
Oh, pretty much the same. Maybe somewhat more demoralized than usual, but not much. He still had enough energy and everything to bring up a Groundhog Day reference. So,
yeah.
Does he do that subconsciously, or is he aware about it now? Does he just purposely?
Oh yeah, I think he's leaning into the.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
That's at least the 10th time he's brought up Groundhog Day since I've covered him.
Matt, was it that good a movie to reference that often?
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Let's just say fitting.
Yeah.
Not just in this instance, unfortunately, but in lots of instances.
Yeah.
Both sports and just in live period.
And this podcast.
Yep.
Cartier Diarra, as Catfish mentioned, he went back into the starting lineup, and he played one of his better games of the season. I thought that was interesting. Even though he was in there when things went south so quickly, he did come back in after they inserted David Sloan, and then really didn't leave the floor again. 7 of 15 from the field, 5 of 11 from three-point range. That just jumps out at me. 5 of 8 from the line. He forced 7 fouls. I mean,
yeah, that's amazing.
That's incredible.
He fouled out, and then they let him go back in and get 2 more.
Yep, three block shots.
You know what that reminds me of, Fitz? I'm gonna go off on a little tangent for like 1 sentence. So if you got 7 fouls in a game, which obviously is impossible. So like I said, he fouled out and then went back in and got 2 more. That's like when you get consecutive life sentences that you hear some people get. So that means if they die and then come back to life, they have to then go back to prison.
Yes. That took
So
me
it's
a
consecutive life sentences. So I'm just saying that, I guess if you come back a second time, then they're finally like, well, I guess you beat your consecutive life sentences. So.
You know the basketball team is struggling when
when they could be dead and still serving time.
I'm just saying, like consecutive life sentences. Have you just ever thought about that?
It does seem excessive.
I'm just saying.
24 points for Cardi. Oh, Lord, help us. Please get us through this podcast.
He played with more energy.
He did. He did.
Played smarter, too.
He played smarter.
I liked what I saw from him.
I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it. It almost feels like he got publicly called out, and he was like, oh, people are noticing that I don't give a crap at times, and he gave a crap this whole game, and it showed up.
Did you believe what he said in post-game to you guys, Kellis? Did you believe any of it, or was it like he said what he felt like he knew he had to say?
Oh, no, I think he was genuine in saying it, yeah.
Well, see, I interpret it differently. I believe what he said, but he did let slip at one point that I have to win more games. And I think that was the overriding here. I haven't questioned his desire to play good basketball.
Yeah.
I've questioned his desire to play team basketball.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I've questioned his desire to fit into the structure of making those around him better. I've seen him take shots that shouldn't be taken, but he was going to take them. I've seen him drive to the basket and make good or bad decisions, hoping to make a circus shot. And he did some of that also at Iowa State, but I thought he plugged into the team a little bit better here.
It was interesting that he did kind of flat out say that, yes, he is most definitely thinking about pro basketball. However, he does realize that winning games now will help him get there. And anyone says otherwise thinks is crazy. I think that's really what he was trying to say there. And, I don't know if Fran or whoever set up this whole deal deserves credit for him turning things around a little bit, but he did seem much more controlled. What? And to allow Iowa State to foul him 7 times, I thought was big. In previous games, he would have been, I don't know, just chucking the ball out of bounds and turning the ball over. Instead of getting fouled 7 times, he would have had 7 turnovers. So it's kind of crazy.
Oh my gosh, Fitz, you're right. We were stupid. I wouldn't. That's
fouls drawn.
Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't know any. You guys just let Fitz and I flail. Dead in the water. No, you said that he committed 7 fouls.
No, I didn't. Did I?
We let you flail.
Yeah, I said.
Hold up.
You're the one who looked silly.
I hope that we delete all of that.
No.
What?
He drew 7 fouls.
FD, fouls drawn.
I wasn't even paying. I just was looking at the personal fouls. I wasn't even paying attention.
Welcome to the show.
I'm going to say.
I think he's being underwater.
Man, oh man, yeah.
In dark, muddy water.
That's
noodling.
Bruce still wasn't thrilled with him, though. He all his post game said several times could play better.
Could have played better.
Looks what happened. I mean, I start him and look what happens. We fall behind by 21. So I don't know that he's a lock to start tomorrow.
Man, this is a fractured relationship. They're just trying to keep it together for the rest of the year.
When you've heard this about players in whatever the sport is for many, many years, when he or she wants to, he or she can be really good. There's a lot of basketball left. The fact that was said after a game on February 8th.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could remember the exact time in the game. I had to listen to the better part of the first half on radio, but when I got home and I turned on the television and then matched them up, there was a play where Cartier got after it defensively, and I scratched my head thinking, man, when he plays defense like that because of his wingspan and how his athleticism makes him really difficult to deal with. But I go back to it's when he wants to, and that's where I struggle with it. I fight myself in my own brain because at this level you have to do that, and the fact that he says about pro basketball what he said, I'm like, no, I don't want to hear about that. Because just think, when all the freshmen that you have right now and then the guys that K-State's got coming in next year, think about the impact he could have if Cartier was as good as Cartier could be next year as a senior.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing I've taken from Rand's comments is Cartier doesn't plan on being here next year. He's going to go professional. I mean, you don't start eyeing professional basketball a year and a half in advance. You do it when the clock's ticking. And I think that's unfortunate because he's nowhere near the NBA. I mean, he's just nowhere.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
nowhere near it.
Raise your hand if you think it's going to be in the NBA or if it's going to be in Kazakhstan or Italy or somewhere.
Kazakhstan.
It will be. I'd prefer Italy over Kazakhstan if I was Cardi, but
Turkey. How about that?
That was a better choice not too long ago than it is now.
Yeah.
Well,
when the guy walks
sad.
on campus, you're like, this is a kid that can really help this program, and he has helped the program. But whatever it is, from going to being behind Cam and Barry to now, I am in the spotlight. I'm in the spotlight every day, and I have to live to that level. That's That's been a struggle because staying next year, agree or disagree, I'm going to say it would help him immensely if certain things took place.
Not going to happen.
I will say playing next year
is.
would help him immensely. I think his better choice, if he wants out of here, is to go somewhere else and use that senior transfer rule. He's not. It seems clear to me. He's done with college basketball. But it sounds like this situation might have resonated with him. As much as I try to pad my own stats and do my own thing, I'm not helping my stature, which was obvious to most of us, but apparently not to him. I'm not helping the view of me from scouts when they see me doing this. I need to be a better teammate and help this team win, even if it's for myself.
I just want to, Kellis, you have something like conspiracy theory? You said Fran or whoever set this up. Or are you trying to say that, like, you're saying Bruce told him, hey, call him out and try to, or like, what were you implying there?
I don't think anybody told Fran, hey, you need to go on the radio.
Well, you just said whoever set this up. What did
call
you
him out, but I think those words were definitely relayed to him.
I see.
I take it this way. Fran's a former coach.
He took some off-the-record comments and used them as his own. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
Okay.
Fran's a former coach, and let us not forget what got Fran into the former category. If you know that story, I'm not going to repeat it right here, but it was questioning the testicular strength of his team and the way he went about it. This seems to be a nerve that hits Fran Fraschilla, a player that isn't putting out the type of effort he would want as a coach. And he was kind of known as a hothead as a coach. He would get after his guys. Now we know Fran as the nice guy that says great things about officials and coaches and mostly players and rarely does this type of thing. But he was known for having this kind of, this predator in him where he'll go after you if you show signs of not being a team guy. And I think that's what came out of Fran after that technical. Folks, it wasn't out of the blue. He wasn't looking for a reason to do it. Carty got teed up against Baylor, and I think Fran snapped. I think Fran said, well, enough of this crap from this guy who's got a world of talent, who's out here just playing for himself, trying to get to the league. And maybe someone whispered something in his ear, said something, but I don't think Fran planned to say that. It just happened.
I do want to make sure that we note that, before he goes into the criticism, he does mention about how talented. Right. I just think that maybe that's been lost in it.
Right.
It's all about the criticism. But
it wasn't a personal attack.
Yeah.
The first thing he said was, I like this guy.
But that's what I'm saying. I just think so many people have focused on the criticism part, not enough that, by the way, at the beginning of it, here's what he said before he launched into what do you think? You know what I'm saying? And I understand, hey, guys, that's just how it is, right? I mean, the things that make the headlines are the negative thing. It's not the 10 lines of positive things you said before. It's that, I thought he quit in the fourth quarter or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that it's the things that are the negative headlines that are going to be the things that people want to read about. Cause that's just,
there are times when all of us need to be called out.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
And in this
like you guys could have done to me when I said that Carty committed 7 personal fouls.
That's different than calling you out.
You should have said
that would have
Ron.
been, hey, moron. FD stands for fouls.
I just
drawn.
wasn't looking close enough.
If the catfish is drowning, don't dive in to save it.
That's right.
Right.
I thought you were making an elaborate joke and had some kind of twist.
Can we say that's what I was doing? It just didn't land. It was one of those abstract kind of
Ryan
things.
Black, elaborate joke.
Hey, you
didn't look at it and think it was weird. 7 fouls, huh?
I just thought it was a typo, so I just was running with it. I just thought it was a typo.
He actually committed no fouls. How about that?
That's incredible in itself. But to Matt's point, I'm going to sound like Bob Knight a little bit here. Lord help me for that. But we are soft nowadays, and that sometimes includes me. When you hear needed criticism, you instead hear, you hate me, I suck.
You hear "Okay, Boomer," right?
Exactly.
That's your big thing that people go with.
Seriously, when people offer you needed criticism, which really that was it no holds barred? Yes, but it wasn't a personal attack. And yet people act as if Fran Fraschilla personally attacked Cartier Diarra when instead he was simply calling him out for the job or lack thereof he's doing right now.
And like I said, that's the difference. Is he was calling him out as a basketball player. He didn't say this guy is a bad person and things like that. But he just was saying as a basketball player. like what he's not doing that he could be doing.
That's where this is so different than the previous incident under Bruce Weber. When Marcus Foster went off the rails, he turned into a bad person. I mean, he was poison, and probably in hindsight, I know I've said this over and over. I know why Bruce kept him around, kept him in the structure, but for the betterment of the team, he probably should have been gone. But he doesn't see that with Carty. He still thinks Carty's a good kid. He just thinks he's lost his focus within the context of basketball. And we saw a little bit of it. That's hopeful. What's not hopeful is the fact now that this team is 2-8 in the conference and 9-14 overall.
But I'm going to go back, and I know you're going to break here, but what's hopeful is, do we see him change? Again, it's one game, but now what do we see him do the rest of the regular season and for whatever time K-State spends in the postseason in Kansas City?
Yep, and that's upcoming on the Powercat Insiders podcast. Oklahoma State awaits on Tuesday. We will discuss.
Stay locked in. The Powercat Podcast will be right back.
Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. I'm here to tell you about Boll & Branch sheets. In a recent customer survey, 96% replied that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. They're made from the rarest organic cotton and designed to get even softer over time. Try their sheets with a 30-night guarantee plus 15% off your first order with code Odyssey. So head to BOLLandbranch.com today. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Picture this nightmare scenario. You're hosting friends for the big game. It's neck and neck in the fourth quarter, and suddenly you realize you're out of drinks. You start to sweat. Your friends start to turn on you. You're forced to go on a last-second drink run and end up missing the game-winning touchdown while in line. Terrifying, isn't it? Luckily, you can avoid the drama with Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits, then get them delivered right to your watch party. Compare prices across multiple stores in your area, find the best deals on game day drinks, and get back to armchair quarterbacking from, you guessed it, your armchair. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com today. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations.
We now send it back to Fitz in the WTC Gig-Powered Studios.
We're back. We're trying to sort out Catfish here in the break. He got a little lost in the first half. That's all right.
I think I'm in the wrong pond.
Yeah, exactly. He got the stat sheet. Stat sheets are getting weird. I mean, now you got the plus minus. Now they've moved stuff around. The fouls defended, or what is it, fouls?
Personal fouls, fouls drawn.
Fouls drawn.
Yeah.
Not defended, drawn.
I'm just still mad you guys let me flail like that. You could have just said...
I was a little confused.
Just let me flail like an idiot.
You know what? Let me point this out. There's 3 guys at this table who are married.
Oh.
And sometimes...
we get left flailing.
Yes.
I see.
Sometimes things don't make sense when we're hearing them, but we just nod and say...
yes, dear.
Or in this case, yes, Catfish.
Yeah.
I see.
The points should be over by the rebounds, not that anybody cares.
I know. I don't know. Why aren't the total points right after the field goals and free throws? That just doesn't make sense. Or all the total stats at one end. Come on, basketball. Get your you-know-what together.
Why do you need the TP? Shouldn't it just be P? Like, is there any confusion?
Or just flip them.
Total points or...
points, PT.
Points.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they don't put PTS, so that's why they put TP. Our podcast is brought to you by Commerce Bank. With the technology and the people to help with whatever financial challenges come your way, Commerce Bank challenge accepted. That's why I'm here.
I love it. I love it. Matt keeps us on track. Hey, the guys, the basketball team play Oklahoma State on Tuesday. I don't know what the mental state of Oklahoma State will be after what took place Saturday. They were the better team in Waco. They should have beaten the number 1 team in the country. And every call that could have gone against them, I'm not even going to say that. Every call seemed to go against them. It was even calls that shouldn't go against them seemed to go against them late in the game. In fact, they went to the monitor at one point and switched the call from Baylor to Oklahoma State. Mike Boynton picked up 2 technicals and went to the locker room early.
I love what he did after he got run.
And then he shook all the hands.
Loved it.
And left.
He seems hard not to like.
He's very
He just seems like a very likable guy.
When they promoted him in Stillwater, I went, what?
Yeah.
And as soon as you're around him, you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And I like the fact now he's kind of surrounded himself with the mix of veteran coaches that can help him and young recruiters, young guys that can get after it. And
he's kind of the opposite of Travis Ford, Like Travis Ford, had some pretty good teams, but nobody liked him. Always wanted him out. Didn't like the way he acted in the 6th man. Get him out of Stillwater. Now Mike Boynton comes in and
everyone loves him.
Can't win in many games, but
well, he gets next
good
year.
Good recruiter, nice dude.
He'll get next year.
Yeah, he's bringing in.
If they're not good next year, then he's
no. That's what I'm saying. He's got one more season to see what they can do with this recruits they're bringing in.
Their next stop is in Manhattan.
What a game that'll be!
It's huge for Kansas State. It's huge. Whether they win in Stillwater on down the road or at Fort Worth on Saturday or anywhere else they might go in this season, they have to win these type of games at home. Kansas State needs to beat Oklahoma State and Iowa State, Texas at home. Right?
Give them 5 conference wins. If my math checks out.
Well,
that would be.
Speaking of checking out, if K-State loses tomorrow night, the fans will definitely be checked out. Those who aren't right now will be checked out if the Cats would lose tomorrow night.
One of the nice things about this season is that KU game is parked so late in the schedule, the students have to keep showing up if they want preferred seating for that game. Unless they all stop showing up, and then it kind of ties the score as is.
Well, there's always the thing I've seen a little bit this year is the students who go in, get their thing scanned, and then just hightail it out of there. They don't actually stay for the game.
That sucks.
Oh,
though they've actually had some pretty good student crowds, so
really
not a whole lot of people doing that. But it always cracks me up. To every game, it's like clockwork. I'm walking up, and there's at least 8 or 10 students walking
crazy
away, leaving
with their T-shirt or Hawaiian shirt, or
with their Hawaiian shirt and their slice of pizza.
Those were some cool Hawaiian shirts last week, by the way.
I like that too.
That was not an inexpensive promotion. I don't know how much those shirts boiled down cost but still, man. 1,500 shirts.
Speaking of that, I mean, Matt, you were there too. I mean, I was surprised at the lack of people at the women's game. I just thought a lot of people on Saturday. I just really thought more people would want to see
Baylor.
But just I want to come see Baylor. I mean,
what was the crowd like?
Hang on just a second. I'm going to give you the announced crowd. To be honest, Catfish, I did not even look. The attendance was listed at 3,505, and to be honest, that's one of the better crowds. That's the listed crowd. I didn't.
I'll bet it's 1,500 less than that.
I know they were expecting a little over 2,000, somewhere in that ballpark. But Baylor doesn't have the Brittany Griner, or for that matter, the Kalani Brown that they've had of late. But it's one of the few teams that can win the national championship. And K-State held them to a low point total in the last 5 years. K-State hit some early shots. They had a lot of bunnies. I'm not saying they win the game, but it's got a different spin to it. They had K-State. What their downfall was combined, not singularly, but combined, had about 13 and a half minutes of no field goals.
Yeah,
well, that seems bad.
At the end of the first half and at the end of the ball game, and you can't survive that way against a good team, let alone a really good team.
Well, I guess, like I said, the reason I bring that up is because, I mean, someone mentioned to me that, well, okay, maybe the reason people didn't show up was because, okay, they expected K-State to get beat bad. But I'm like, well, everything I've ever heard was that, like, it was standing room only when UConn came here, and you couldn't have expected something different. It's just because it's a non-conference. I guess this makes sense.
UConn's totally different.
Special.
Okay.
UConn
different.
is like the program.
Okay.
That would be like Duke coming here on the men's side.
Oh, okay.
UConn also... like every high school in the state, every girls' high school team in the state bust their team over to watch that game.
Okay. I didn't know that. Wait, you covered that game, Kellis?
Oh, yeah.
Well, man, it was a big deal if they sent you there.
I did like a whole...
I was there.
Whoa.
I did a whole. You should go check it out. I did like a behind-the-scenes week with Jeff Mitty leading up to the UConn game.
I need to look that up.
Actually, but
man, plug it on the podcast.
But yeah, when you drive up, when that game, I drove up to park my normal spot, and there was just nothing but school buses
everywhere.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
The best was back in the day when the women had their first home sellout. When Nebraska came to town, was when they kept all the doors up on the concourse closed, and when they opened them, it was just like you would see for the K-State men's game, where they just were sprinting in where they could.
That seems safe.
How long ago was that?
That was the night the 4-3 got unveiled for the first time at K-State.
The what?
4-3?
Oh, that. Oh, yeah. I was hearing.
Fill me in. What are we saying?
Kellis Robinette, 4-3. Then
they really? That was at a
FOR3, not FOUR3.
I thought you were talking in code or something.
No, that idea was hatched after the men's game that day, and
really, it debuted at a women's game.
Debuted at the women's game.
What made that Nebraska matchup so iconic that made fans just?
I don't remember if it was a promotion, but it was a sellout.
Wow.
Well, they used to sell out women's basketball all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, back in the day, they would fill that thing to the rafters.
And they've got a short turnaround because they're on their way to Morgantown, and then they've got another road game next weekend.
At Oklahoma. Yeah, we were looking at the schedule earlier.
All I was thinking when that was numbers. He said 4-3. Right. I was like 43.
Well, I couldn't just.
That's what I heard at first.
Spell it out. That's right.
Well,
can we get to the rant?
Now, one thing I want to ask here: we're looking at a Baylor athletics program with the number one teams in men's and women's basketball.
They're the new UConn.
So I asked
and a BCS. I'm sorry, New Year's Six bowl bid too.
So I asked this: if Baylor, why not K-State? Why not? I keep hearing it's not possible. You can't do this. You can't sustain it. You can't achieve at that high level at Kansas State. I know Baylor's in maybe more friendly recruiting territory, but it just strikes me that if you're a kid in Texas, Baylor probably isn't your first choice. So, I mean, it's not like they're Texas and they can yell out their back door and get any kid they want.
Well, I think it's different for the women's versus the men's team. I mean, because
women they're beginning to achieve that UConn status.
Yeah,
kids want to go there.
I just think it's different on the men's side.
I will slightly disagree with that because they've been there long enough that, again, they're in that group of 4 or 5 teams that can win the national title every year. Baylor's women.
Baylor women. Okay.
They reached that some time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, by beating K-State Saturday, Kim Mulkey's 597 and 100. She's going to get to win number 600 faster than any other male or female head coach.
Yeah, in history, all Division I. Yeah,
and I mean I equate that to not now, but to years past of in this conference like Texas baseball and some others where it's a phone call. I am blank. Do you want to come play here at Texas? Sure, I'm there. It's changed, but. Well,
that used to be Texas women's basketball, right?
Used to be.
With Conrad? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Used to be.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like that used to be. I mean, I would agree with you if like Texas women were still at the level that they used to be.
What Baylor's done is ridiculous.
Yeah.
9 straight regular season titles, 8 out of the last 9.
Yep, of the tournament.
275 and I want to say 74 is Mulkey in the conference.
Well, and again, I did this column, Saturday after the game, so since Griner's sophomore season, 2009 and 10, they've lost 33 games total.
Yeah, K-State once led the series 30.
They've lost 33 in a row when you count
9-5.
Yeah, let's point that out. This didn't start instantly for Kim Mulkey.
Nope.
She had to build it and climb.
Yep.
That's my point is she didn't inherit something or walk in and just immediately flip a switch. She put out a lot of decent teams, average teams, and then she got a big hug from Trace Adkins on national TV. Really, that seemed like it kind of put her on the national stage, like, oh, this person's legitimate, and boom, Baylor women's basketball took off.
Yeah.
But on the men's side, what Scott Drew inherited, what he's done, you can think maybe there was something shady or whatever you want to lean on as an excuse for how he's done it, but he's done it. He's done it. And it's not like he's getting kids to Baylor that leave you scratching your head. He's getting kids to Baylor that he can attain.
Yeah, the weird thing about this year is this is a year where they don't really have a stud guy.
Yeah, they don't have a stud.
They're a great team.
They're like
their depth is good.
When you're talking about the shady days of Scott Drew, when all the other coaches in the conference accused him of cheating, was when he would get dudes like that, but they would kind of underachieve, win just about 20 games. When they had it on, they'd beat anybody. When they didn't, they'd lose. But this year's they got a former D3 guy in their starting lineup.
Incredible.
They're ranked number 1 in the country.
Yeah, how did that guy wind up at D3?
I don't know, Gillespie. That is among the crazier recruiting stories I've ever heard.
And I just want to bring up that again, you guys were actually covering it when it happened, but Scott Drew took over after, to me, the worst scandal in the history of college sports, where Dave Bliss tried to frame a player of his who was murdered as a drug dealer so it would not look as bad on him.
That seems bad.
Framed him as a murderer. There's been some really bad college scandals, obviously Penn State and some of these, but a guy got killed and you tried to frame him in a different light to keep your job. And Scott Drew inherited that. Then look what he's done.
And Scott Drew was nobody. He was the son of a coach.
Son. Yeah.
But really, he was all they could get. And there was talk about bending the rules, and there was plenty of talk, even from me, all-knowing Fitz, that the guy couldn't coach. That he was just kind of rolling the ball out and letting the guys go play. He can coach, man. I don't know if it's been on-the-job training or what, but he's getting it done now.
He has undergone quite a transition. Because I'm with you. 10 years ago, I would have said, pretty good recruiter, horrible coach, probably gets by with shady practices. And now it's the total opposite,
That's crazy, man.
Recruits normal dudes, coaches them up, has this, people used to make fun of him for going zone, but now it's hey, that's actually a pretty practical way to play defense.
Is it because of his personality?
And he's playing a lot of man, too.
Is that why people, you think, thought that? His personality just seems so all shucks and unassuming. He doesn't really coach. He's not intense enough to be a...
Well,
they just used to lose a lot of close games.
As an anecdote, it just seemed like on that side they lost a lot of close games. On the other
it does
side,
seem, in terms of a lot of teams that have had high seeds, they've been one of the more underachieving teams in NCAA tournament for sure.
As an anecdote, I remember the previous staff went down there, and Baylor had redone their offices and had some fancy schmancy, high-tech new video system. I was going to really streamline things, and they could call things up, game situations of every opponent and all that kind of thing. And a K-State staff member said, hey, do you mind if come in and kind of see that system? And they said, no, only Baylor basketball people go in that office. We don't even let the AD in. What? How's that work? But they wouldn't let anyone
Private
else.
school.
Private school. Really private if you don't let the boss in.
This was under their previous staff before Scott Drew?
On K-State's previous.
Oh, on K-State's previous staff.
FD, fouls drawn.
It is funny, though. I feel like if you ask most coaches in the league, 10 years ago, what do you think of Scott Drew? I'd say probably back when there were 12 teams, the other 11 would say, I hate that guy. But now I think it's totally flipped. Bruce loves him. I feel like most coaches say, hey, yeah, Scott Drew, pretty nice guy. Can't help but like him. Weird.
I know you've pointed that out.
It's hard to explain.
I know that you've pointed that out multiple times. That it just seems like that Bruce and Scott seem to have a love affair in the media in terms of how much they compliment each other's teams all the time.
Them and Beard.
And Beard as well. You're right. He's the third member of this love triangle.
Rant time.
Okay, well, guys, I don't apparently. I'll say it this way. One thing I don't know apparently is how to read a box score. What I do know is soft drinks.
Okay.
And something I want to go into is because I saw my staff member, Greg Woods, tweet out this thing now that they're putting Mountain Dew Zero or whatever the heck it's called, the K-State basketball games. And it bothers me that these companies still market the zero-calorie soft drinks as it's the same taste as the one that you love, but it's 0 calories. That is completely false, and it's false advertising.
I agree. I've never tasted a 0-calorie thing that tasted anyone near what the original taste of.
That's my point, but that's how they market it. It's the same great Coke taste or Pepsi taste or Dr. Pepper taste or whatever one that you like. And like I said, that's what I tweeted it with Greg, was I tried Coke Zero once, thought it tasted like Diet Coke, and I've never given it another chance.
I tried it once.
Zero?
Yeah.
Zero. It's a perfect name for it, Zero.
It is a big zero. It's
Remember for a while when they tried the to bridge the gap and have like Pepsi 1, Dr. Pepper 10.
What?
I thought those were even worse.
I miss the days of lemon Pepsi.
Now they have
lemon.
Yeah.
How about clear?
You can go
Pepsi?
to some convenience or not convenience
Crystal
stores,
Pepsi?
but some restaurants have the touch screens and you can add what you want. Yeah, they used to have lemon Pepsi in a can. It was phenomenal.
Lemon and was there like a lemon on the can? Was there like a lemon logo?
It's like yellow up at the top around the.
I like cherry 7-Up. Wow, that
like
complete silence. That's,
I like cherry 7-Up.
I also love vanilla Coke. Anything vanilla.
Nope.
Well, that's fine.
I've got a little.
That's fine.
I'm looking at Fitz, and I know. Don't say anything. You can smile. Just don't say anything. Okay. All right? Really, for that matter, the two of you either. Okay?
I don't even know what you're talking about because I don't know fouls drawn.
I've got squirt in the garage right now because you got to have a squirt every once in a while. I've got the best purchase I made over the. No, I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's Matt has taken over the rant today, and I'll just cede to your judgment.
The best purchase over the holidays was black cherry ginger ale.
Really?
And raspberry ginger ale. Best purchase I've made in a long time.
Never heard of that.
I only drink ginger ale on flights
for a limited time.
Is ginger ale low-cal?
It's like 140 a can, so to me that's low-cal.
Compared to,
You got to mix it up. I love cherry 7-Up.
That sounds like
it's very good.
You're a clear beverage kind of guy, huh?
I like. If you're going to ask me between the two bigs, I go Pepsi.
Okay. I pick Coke if only because I'm from Georgia, and I just say, but hey, I like them both. I don't. I guess I'm always reluctant about what I'm allowed to say on here because I don't want to look like I'm trying to push any company.
Coke belongs with something else, and that's the only time I have it.
You know what? Here's another. Can I give a bonus rant? I'm not going to tell you the restaurant, but God bless this woman's soul, and I really mean this. Like, bless her. She asked me if my milkshake, if I wanted whipped cream on top. I hate whipped cream on top of my milkshake. I want just ice cream. If I wanted, whipped cream, I'd get a piece of pie.
Cherry?
What?
Cherry?
Cherry what?
On top.
No, goodness no.
You just want the shake.
I just want the ice cream. Just give me the shake. Because then the whipped cream melts all into it and it gets all weird.
Are you hamburger or cheeseburger?
Oh,
oh gosh.
Well, I mean, I like them both. I mean, sometimes you don't want the meat sullied, but sometimes the cheese adds a little.
So which is it?
I'll say cheeseburger, but I mean they're both good. That's all.
I need bacon and cheese.
Okay,
well, what's happened?
Sorry, Fitz.
And I want whipped cream and cherry on top of my milkshake.
Man,
and I want Dr. Pepper more than Pepsi or Coke.
Yeah, well, and you're from Texas, so you're.
See, when you go down to like a baseball game at Baylor, you got to have a Big Red. You have to try.
Yeah, no, well, I mean,
I don't want a case of it, but you got to have it once.
Oh man, I bought 6 packs of it when I was down at Big 12 Media Days. I've still got this.
Fitz has lost control over here.
Yeah, I mean,
you have to have a grape soda once in a while.
I prefer technically orange soda personally. That's just me. Like Kel and Keenan and Kel.
Well, you're from the Southeast.
How old
oranges.
are you?
I am. Me or him?
Yeah.
I'm 30. Keenan and Kel?
And orange soda is your preferred?
No, I'm saying between that and grape soda.
Okay.
No, my
grape soda?
Every so often.
Well, it's just because you're. Well, I mean, Fitz, you just have no opinions on any of this at all?
I'm just sitting here fascinated by the idea of a cheeseburger with whipped cream on it. Kind of thinking about that now. I like them both.
Not together.
Why not
Come
together?
on, man.
And
Why
the cherry.
not?
Come on, man.
I mean, I've got a milk product and cheese already
just
on
drink
it.
your 5-hour energy and let's finish her up.
We're done. We will talk to you next week.
We're not even going to go back to K-State?
That's it.
We're not going to mention anything about their recruiting class last week of signing day?
One person.
Okay.
Well, they had one person, then 2 guys that were already part of the program.
That's just quite a way to end it, talking about all those soft drinks. But Matt took it over, so I appreciate it.
When your will's broken,
Ryan, do you have some elaborate thoughts on the 3 guys they added?
Doesn't.
I'll just say Sam Shields is a Manhattan High grad.
Yes, he is.
And I work for the Manhattan.
Son of a high school classmate of mine.
How about that?
And when he gets healed up, we'll see what transpires.
We'll see.
Big kid.
He is.
Big kid.
Very nice kid, too.
He is.
All the kids they brought in last week were very pleasant to talk to, for sure.
That's what I like about covering K-State recruiting, K-State football, is they bring in young gentlemen.
Yeah, for sure.
For the most part.
Yeah. I feel like the guys Chris is bringing in seem a little bit more media ready than Bill.
Yeah. Or
they just seem a little bit more
Or they're,
I don't know.
They're not fearful of going to the media and saying something that Bill won't like.
Yeah, I think that has to
They're given less. They're given guidelines, but less And if you do this, you have to run. And if you say this, you get hung up by your what.
What about Sean Snyder going to USC? We're not going to mention that.
That's okay. We can mention that.
I was just going to say that.
I was just trying to get us back on track. You just want me to host now, Fitz?
I want someone to host because I checked out 10 minutes ago.
Do I need to kick it over to Matt for a third reading?
No.
Okay.
We're good.
All right.
No, but seriously, I find this intriguing because Sean Snyder, if you don't know, is apparently heading to Southern California as their special teams coordinator and on the field coaching position. He was talking to Texas and Nebraska, and those were more analyst positions. He will be on the field. And this is going to be interesting to see how it pans out because fans don't realize that Sean really coached kickers, punters, and snappers. That's his area of expertise. And he is one of the best in the country at those things. K-State's never been weak in those areas. Never. But the return game has always been good. And that comes from his father. And he might have been in charge of it, but he didn't really coach those things. I mean, Andre Coleman,
I've always heard.
Coached the returners, later. And Dana Dimmel did the blocking schemes. So Sean's never really done that. He's been in the room, but he's never actually done it all. Now he's going to have to do it all. It's going to be intriguing. The good news for him is Southern Cal is awful in special teams. They couldn't get 11 guys on the field this season.
Couldn't get 11 guys on the field.
Right. I mean, they screwed up their first kickoff of the season with 10 guys. They had all season, and they don't put the right number out there. So he's got a lot of room to work them up, and he will improve their punting and kicking, I guarantee.
For sure.
Just how long will Clay Helton be around?
That's the question.
I'm told it's a 2-year contract, a smart move. He's going someplace where if they bomb, nobody's going to blame the special teams coordinator, even if he doesn't do well. It'll be the head coach's fault, and he'll have a 2-year contract and have another year to kind of gather himself. Maybe come back. I'd be interested in Wanda, and if she moves out there, if they just stay here and he goes out to work. I'd probably stay here and let my husband go work.
Best of luck to him.
Don't want anything to do with L.A. No, thank you.
Can you imagine after living here for 26 years and the traffic, adjusting to L.A. traffic?
It's a lot.
There's oxygen here. There's none out there.
It's kind of like Anderson at 5 p.m. It's that Anderson Bluemont corner is Little L.A.
Little L.A.
Little L.A.
Especially with the construction right now.
Yeah. That's it for the podcast. Good God, get us out of here.
Wait, let me mention one last thing.
Okay.
It's funny that we brought this up. My favorite Tupac song is To Live and Die in L.A.
Thank
Felt
you.
like the listeners would want to know that.
I've got 3 words. We are out.
You've been listening to the Powercat Insiders Podcast, presented by Commerce Bank. Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.